Before you open it up, I'm gonna say a speech, and then at the end of my speech, then you'll get to know what it is. It's something very basic, but it's a present that I hope you guys really do appreciate. Thank you. Elizabeth! Hi! That's my sister, by the way. Everyone say hi to my sister. Unfortunately, she's not able to be here because she is going to pop one day, and I'm going to be an uncle. We're very excited for that to happen one day. Alright. So before I begin, I want to truly thank every single one of y'all for being here and supporting me for I told myself I wasn't going to do this. I know, I'm looking right at him too. Alright. I want to truly thank every single one of y'all for being here and supporting me for the next chapter of my life and joining the military. In this speech, I'm going to be open and honest. Though I did try my best to keep the word choice PG, some things may tilt your head a bit and think about the person you're supporting here today. I decided to go this route because I wanted to keep it as authentic and transparent as possible. I am not perfect by any means, and I don't recall ever saying I was. I do not entertain the idea that disrespecting others is okay or cool, and want to emphasize how important it is to respect one another, especially your parents, and to choose your words wisely to best communicate to others. With that said, I'm going to begin my little speech. Little speech, you might be here for a while, but I got your time anyway. Growing up, my dad always told stories of his life to my sister and I. New to us, now he just kind of tells them on repeat. His stories consist of simpler times and good times, a bunch of tomfoolery, which is probably my favorite kind of story, memorable moments, and events in his life that taught him unforgettable lessons. I asked my dad, how do you have so many stories? And what a dumb question to ask if you think I asked that this week. If that was the case, none of us would be here today. I was maybe 6 or 7 when I asked this. I wanted to have stories and tell them just like he did. And he told me, you will have them, son, as you go through life and get older. And this is when I told the worst lie to myself. I can't wait to get older. The worst lie. I'm 27 now, and my dad was definitely right. I did get older. But who would have thought, right? Of course I got older. With that came moments in my life worth sharing as well, just like my dad. But out of everything I've been through, there is one story I want to share in particular that shapes itself as time goes on. This story I have crafted in a way in which it can fit any particular topic. This story is one that I am most proud of and I've talked a lot about in conversation. It is a story as to why I decided to join the United States Navy. Out of all the reasons, this is one of them. When I saw my sister graduate high school at the Toyota Center back in 2013, I thought she was the coolest person ever. And then she left for college and just vanished. But of course, I'm just kidding. I mean, she's right there, right? She's with us in spirit. I never thought she was cool. No, I'm just kidding. But really, I did think that this was like the pinnacle and highlight of getting older. Walking that stage, everyone celebrating you. But here comes that same line. I can't wait to get older. That was when you need something. Fast forward, 2017, it was time to start applying for college. Or so I thought. I was in a bit of a panic because a lot of other students already got accepted their junior year. I was like, wait, I was supposed to worry about this when I was a freshman? I felt so behind. I didn't know what to do. To make matters worse, I never went to my counselor or asked for any help, even being in college prep class that I never took serious either. I figured I applied to Texas State because that's what my sister did, but they denied me. UT, U of H, denied. Can't even get into U of H, right? Holy moly, holy crap, right? Must be done. But I know I wasn't done.
No, you're not.
But it surely made me feel that way. Parents started to worry, and same here. The only thing I knew was that I had to go. Had to talk to my parents, and they were telling me, see, if you just applied yourself in school. And my response was, yeah, whatever. Again, probably the worst response ever. My days after school consisted of me going upstairs playing Call of Duty, doing things on my computer, and doing the bare minimum to complete my homework. It is a pretty solid reason as to why my parents, to this day, probably still think as to why I'm lazy. It wasn't though. I did care. The way I showed it was, to say the least, very much lacking. But the pressure to get into college was real. I thought, what would my parents think of me if I didn't go? One day in class, Ethan said, I am going to SFA for film. Ethan. That's this guy right here. He told me that they had a well-known film program, and I'm finding all this out last minute, literally the same week of registration. I remember when Ethan spoke about SFA, he did with such confidence like he was waiting to go there his entire life. He got it figured out, I thought. Me? Nope. Ethan and I were also in the same film class together in high school, did the news for school, and it wasn't to say that I really enjoyed the class. I mean, of course, I did 4 years of high school making short films and clips. I really did enjoy film, telling stories like my dad, but in my own way. The only schools, here's where you will understand my little knowledge that I had in college, considering I never cared. The only schools I knew were the ones I got denied from. And of course I knew about Texas Tech, Rice, Harvard, but with my grades, there was no way I would have gotten accepted to those schools. I had no idea of the existence of SFA, Stephen F. Austin State University. To even further the massive ignorance and disconnect I had with college, I asked my girlfriend at the time about SFA, and she was like, oh yeah, by the way, I got accepted there. I was like, what? You did? For what? And she was going there for accounting. And so I decided, but it's kind of weird because we never talked about it. So without doing any further research on the school, I applied because there was 2 people I knew that was going. Ethan, and at the time, my girlfriend. Sent in my application the day registration closed. I figured I'd apply to the same program as Ethan as well to play it safe. Figure I too can make film into a career. I enjoyed it nonetheless. Got my letter back within a week or so, opened it up, and it was the first line. We are excited to have you at our school. You have been, and just threw the paper up. Didn't care about anything else about what that letter said. And I remember throwing that up in the air, flopping on my pillow, and just screaming, thank God. And I told my parents, played it off like I had confidence that I was going where I was going to get accepted, and they worked for nothing. Yeah, I'm going to SFA, good school, Ethan's going to. Kind of like that, just whatever, I knew nothing about the school. Even after applying, I still did not bother to do any research about it, let alone the address of the school. I didn't care. All I cared was that I was going to college. In my mind, I said, screw it, just go with it. Going anyway. Yeah, going to college, to do film. This was going to be awesome. Fast forward, now it's time for our high school graduation. How exciting. Got accepted to college. I'm not going to be a deadbeat son at home. I'm going somewhere. I'm going to have a career. Nope. Matter of fact, I was kind of miserable. Not depressed miserable, more like really poor, ungrateful attitude miserable. My parents interpreted it as being a spoiled brat. I remember feeling as if there was something missing. I had a hard time really trying to view this as something worthwhile, but I just could not make sense of it. And sorry, Mom and Dad, for my poor attitude at the time. At the time, I also didn't know how to explain it, but my gut said there was something wrong. Something felt incomplete, and I was not proud of it. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew there was something wrong. Cap and gown? Check. Underwear? No, I forgot my underwear. All right, gotta go back. All right, put my underwear around. Then, of course, my clothes, because I forgot that too. And I said to my parents as they were about to drop me off at Smart Financial Center, this is all pointless. No smile, just smirking and being a smartass. And then I added, with President Bush, No Child Left Behind Act, this is not something to be excited about if I was destined to graduate anyway. For the context, if you don't know what this act is, it basically progresses a kid forward to the next grade level, regardless if they failed multiple consecutive times. It was a pretty bad standard for Texas. And when I told my parents this, of course, they were upset and definitely wanted to slap me. I argued and yelled back. However, even saying that wasn't exactly the reason why I felt there was something missing. I was trying to make sense of it all with some stupid law that did not even pertain to me because I passed my classes with A's and B's and never was held back. It wasn't like I didn't care about my academics, yet I still could not shake off that feeling of something not feeling right. My heart, my gut, was speaking a language I could not understand. My mind was full of fog, and I was unable to navigate through it. I walked the stage, and the rest of the story is just history. Now it's time for college. Yeah, this is exactly where I wanted to be, I thought. Or so I thought. After 3 semesters of film school, that feeling came back. Something was not right. It was not that I didn't enjoy film or telling stories. If you ever really met me, I blabber a lot. I love telling stories. I ended up changing my major to IT. I changed it for 2 main reasons. One, I thought to myself, why in the world am I getting an art degree? Who the heck convinced me? That was probably Ethan. No, I'm just kidding. Not blaming you at all. Not blaming you at all. But besides that, I've always been pretty tech literate growing up. Build computers, fix them too. I truly do enjoy messing around with technology, what led me to my second reason, job stability. Which then leads me back to my first reason, why the heck would I get an art degree? Then came college, graduation. That feeling's still there. I told my parents, I do not want to walk. And again, same thing. They were pissed. I just wanted to get my degree and get out. After 4 years in college thinking about why I felt like this, I came to the conclusion that it simply did not feel like an accomplishment. To this day, I still feel that way, but that was not all of it. I was, however, starting to understand more as to why I felt that there was something missing. Even though I paid for it, no student loans, it was easy. Got my degree in the mail. They didn't change my degree to Bachelor of Science. It actually stayed as Bachelor of Art. So, yeah, screw it, right? And I'm not kidding, by the way. You can actually look at my degree. It still says Bachelor of Art. They never changed it. But whatever. Next. Sound like I cared anyway. I get into my career in IT. When I started working, I realized that my bachelor degree did not prepare me for the workforce. They taught me all the wrong things, and I felt 4 years behind instead of 4 years ahead. I started feeling lost. and I wanted to give up because of how much time I felt was wasted. I was lucky enough to be hired by a company that was willing to teach me from the very beginning. So I started working hard to learn what I needed, taking every note I possibly can. Years working into my field, I am where I am now, where I should have been 4 years ago. This thought of time, thought of wasting time consumed me. It consumed me so much I started thinking of going back to school and was researching school with great IT programs. This was when I discovered trade school. And instead of being glad to find an effective and cheaper way to get ahead in my education, I built up resentment towards my parents. I was blaming them for their influence of saying college was the answer. I spent so much money that I could have used elsewhere. I felt lied. I felt I was owed. So I researched more and found that my industry really cares about certifications more than degrees. Getting a certification was even cheaper than trade school, too. So I figured, yeah, why the heck not? So that is what I did. I paid for a course and started working towards a specialty in cybersecurity. I was reaching 1 year with the company. At this point, that missing feeling still existed, but did not bother me as much. I was not progressing much with my courses. It was on my own pace, so I figured that I would eventually finish it, procrastinating a lot. Then, my boss gave us mandatory reading assignment. My boss wanted us to read a book called Extreme Ownership by Lee Babin and Jocko Willink. It is a book about accountability beyond its peak meaning. After reading it, I felt a jolt of motivation to study. That motivation, unfortunately, was short-lived, as I quickly forgot the principles because I did not practice it, and started slacking on my studies again. However, after reading the book, I was subconsciously developing an attitude that would help me solve my missing feeling problem that I had for so many years. During my time with the company, and without having any real reason, it felt right to apply for the Air Force as enlisted. I thought that maybe the Air Force can teach me the things I need and jumpstart my cybersecurity career. Told my parents, and immediately they did not approve of my decision. Long story short, even going through the entire process, I was denied. My parents relieved. I shrugged it off. It was no big deal. I acted like it too. Well, I tried. Back to the office. I lied to myself. But it wasn't the denial of the Air Force that consumed me. It was the disapproval from my parents. The disapproval and that missing feeling as if it was connected in some way. I still could not put my finger on it. These feelings started to overwhelm me so much that I slowly started to affect my performance at work. I was no longer enjoying myself, just like how I fell off with film. As a last-ditch effort for myself, I scheduled my exams to force myself to continue to study. However, it didn't help. I couldn't bring myself out of bed sometimes, still making it to work, but was dragging my feet. Nearing the date of my exam, I was unfortunately let go from my job. I ended up failing my exam shortly after too. Failing did wake me up a bit, studied a lot more, and got my cert 2 months later. I have a degree, a certification, now what, I thought. I don't have a job, and I was struggling to find work. I was confused, unsure. Why was it that film did not bring that same excitement I felt when starting it as a kid and doing it in high school? IT was not feeling right either. Everything I enjoyed and was good at continued to not feel right. I was not good at it. I was not good at anything else. Maybe I just have not found my calling. Nothing wrong with being a late bloomer, right? And then I went to my Taekwondo master, Master Jay, in desperation if I could work for him after being let go. And I did. I started working there for a year. I had a lot of time to just think as I worked roughly 20 to 25 hours a week. And I read the book, Extreme Ownership, one more time and realized that I had to practice this every day of my life if I'm ever going to have respect for anyone, if I'm ever going to get respect from anyone, and also keep a job more than 2 years. Took a deep breath, meditated, and everything just clicked. I figured out what was missing. In September of 2024, I opened my laptop and applied to the Navy for OCS instead, and told no one for a while. Well, there you go, right? They had a problem with the Air Force, try a different branch instead. And don't tell them, problem solved. Can't be mad if they don't know. Clearly, they won't have a problem with that, right? Best genius move ever. 200 IQ. No. What I was doing, I was tackling 2 birds with 1 stone. In order to apply for OCS, you needed a degree. And I thought, time to make this stupid thing useful. Of course, I eventually had to tell my family, and to no surprise, faced the same disapproval. You can go ahead and ask them yourself. It's true. Here we go again, my mom said. Haven't you learned the first time? She said annoyingly. But there was something different about it this time. The biggest difference was that that feeling of something missing was gone. I figured it out. Regardless if I get selected, it would not have changed anything either way, too. However, I needed to get selected because I desperately wanted to make a statement as well. A statement to myself that would carry me forward for the rest of my life. March of 2025 came around and I get a phone call. I was selected to be a surface warfare officer for the United States Navy. I was thrilled. And of course, I had to tell my family. I thought long and hard on how I was going to tell them, playing every scenario in my head. I come home to tell my parents, and we argued. More so my mom than my dad. My dad shrugged and looked at me as he sat in his office working. He was like, okay. Oh, my mom was furious. Absolutely livid. Started peeling her wrappers faster. You know, she does it a lot. But she just started peeling them, being so mad at me. Faster, she was just doing it faster. I couldn't remember what she said. All I remember is the look of disapproval and disappointment. I held my tongue and hesitation for a few seconds. That felt like minutes. Took a quick and deep, frustrated breath in, then quickly out. And as I was doing that, my mom was giving me a lecture of something I have no idea about. I couldn't remember. My heart pounding against my ribs. I spoke as calmly, stern, and respectful as I was able to contain myself to do. Then I spoke. I am not asking for your permission. What made this moment so pivotal is because it was about what I strongly believed in and what I was standing up for. I could see it in my father's eyes. He was like, oh shit. But not in a retaliation way. No, but it was a moment of respect between son and father. Because he understood the message, rather than just carrying the words. If you have not caught it already, the missing piece was finally put in place after that. And the missing piece was me the entire time. I was not happy with high school because it wasn't about me. It was because I didn't know what I wanted to do and I was following what was comfortable. It was my parents that wanted me to graduate and go to college as they shoved the idea down my throat without giving any other suggestions that I later found out about. But ultimately, I failed to take responsibility of my future. I did not research. I lacked ambition. When I graduated college, it was not because I wanted to go to college. It was because my parents wanted me to. And it did seem happier when I changed to IT instead. When I was working IT for my company, they were happy for me to have a corporate job. what I contemplated multiple times about quitting. Everything in my life was because it was what they wanted for me, and I was not doing it for my own sake. And of course, I do not want to disappoint. Nonetheless, it was me who decided that I wanted to satisfy others rather than myself. When I realized I was not pulling my own strings, I needed to take control for the first time in my life and take extreme ownership of my decisions from here on forward. Do I like film? Yes. But I'm going to do it because I want to. Do I like IT? Yes. But now I enjoy it because it is what I wanted to do. Signing for the Navy is the first time in my life in which I made a decision for myself that will ultimately alter my future. As much as I love helping others doing film and IT, I had to do something different for myself for once in my life. That is why I decided to join the United States Navy as a surface warfare officer, because it was something that I wanted to do and something that I needed to do to progress myself forward. Thank you. Now, off the script, I didn't write anything about this part because I wanted it to come truly from my heart. But everyone, please go ahead and open what's in your bag.